a question for you men folk, all right? If you guys could define manhood and what it means to you, what would that be?
I mean, like I said, from my perspective, bold, brave, compassionate, loving, emotional, supportive. Like I said, we're all, soldiers of Christ, sons of the Lord, and Jesus is our Savior. In all these things, he wept, he cried, he laughed, he had sorrow. Every emotion he felt, we have to this day. So it's like, if we're his sons, that's the ultimate man. That should be what a man should be.
Good answer. Good answer. Good answer. Good answer.
Beautiful answer. I would say manhood to me is integrity, honor, responsibility, direction, correction, because we definitely need to be corrected sometimes. And then also men tend to forget about being submissive. I know that they want the woman to be submissive to the man, but then also in that divine order, man must be submissive to God as well for their marriage or for their relationship to actually flow in harmony and also with understanding. So that's what manhood is to me, to be able to have the integrity, to have the compassion, to have loyalty, that sometimes never comes up either, that particular word, loyalty, to have an ear to understand, wisdom is part of manhood, experience is part of manhood, and also to have love within oneself as well. That's what manhood is to me, and men don't have a problem with being able to express themselves in a loving mood or in a loving manner.
So you.
I'm trying to think of a word that could encompass servanthood and sacrifice. If you can just ball all that up in one somehow. I just think with a man, it's like it's just so many levels. Like you really gotta have discipline, you gotta have love. You have to be willing at certain times to just lay it all on the line to just protect people. And protection isn't always in a violent, form. Sometimes it's emotional protection. It can be financial protection, physical protection, but it's just a matter of it all just goes back to the heart. If you to me, a man is always looking to serve his community, and whether it be just women, children, his brother, his friend, all of it. That's what a man, to me, the manhood, all that is what a man is supposed to do. Just lead and just guide society. Ultimately, back to Christ. But that's how I see manhood, just in a snapshot. There's so much to it that I can't really just spill it out right now. It's just so much, so many levels to a man.
Yeah, it's all good. I think each one of you, defined it in a beautiful way. I think on one hand, I was about to ask y'all why do you think there's this attack on the manhood? But I think we already kind of established that, spiritually it's because the men are the foundation. I think you all, established that already. I feel like maybe some women they're looking to, maybe women have felt oppressed over the years or so, in order to gain back their power. I guess they want to diminish the man or something like that.
I think a lot of it too is men do mistreat women. Let's be real about it. If you've been abused for a while, it's and you get a little bit of power, what are you gonna do? It goes back to your character and who you are. But like some women, it's like they really do value like a man and what a man's role is, what a man's supposed to do, and everything. And then there's some that's like, yo, I'm the man. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, I wear the pants now. I'm the breadwinner. I do this. I do that. I don't need you. It's just like, man, like it's when you think of like how women, especially like in America, like, you know, with women's rights and stuff like that, that started with white women. It's like, hey, white man, we want to see at your table. You know, yeah, you got these slaves over here, and you sleep with these Indians, and you sleep with the slaves and all that, but we want a piece of the action too. You know what I'm saying? So then you got the women's liberty movement, you got women's suffrage, and you know, and over time, like black women were infused in that. But me, I gotta stick with because I'm black. I just, you know, my focus is first like my community. So I think at some point, black women and black men, we were all together. Like when we were being lynched, like we were just rocking with each other. But it was like after the civil rights movement, you know, it's like with certain laws and you know about like food stamps and all the help from the government assistance, you know, keeping the men out the house, putting men in prison and stuff like that. Like that's a real thing. It's just not a conspiracy, it's just reality. So with that, you kind of gave birth to a different type of woman. Like a woman is left to just fend for herself and raise her kids on her own in a sense. And the man, he's like, yo, I'm out here being killed. I'm being put up in prison falsely, and so many things are happening. You start to create this animosity amongst men and women. And so that dynamic just kind of just changed. And I feel like now we're just trying to get back to it, you know, but like it's that warfare that's happening, you know, like the attack on manhood and everything. It's like, no, like, yo, we gotta like destroy the black family. We gotta keep them separate. You know, it's like, who cares about the children? You know what I mean? But that's how I feel like that's, you know, like, to me, that's what's going on.
Mm-hmm. I agree with Neil too on that subject matter as well, because again, that is part of the master agenda that's been plaguing men, but especially black men, men of African descent, and even again indigenous Native American Indian men as well too. You know, and we can even go to right there on that slavery auction block. You know what I mean, in South Carolina. And a lot of people don't even know this, but Wall Street in New York was actually the original slavery auction block there as well, where they were separating fathers from mothers, husbands from wives, children were going to one plantation, when the wives were going to another plantation in a different state, men were going somewhere else. So we had to endure, our ancestors had to endure all of that for centuries. And then I almost forgot, there's another word that describes manhood as well, and that's endurance. We had to go through that matter. And it's a crazy situation. We had to constantly go into prayer or even gain that strength and that sanity for our mental state is not all over the place either, you know, because we're witnessing these things that are happening around our people. So yeah, the agenda has always been there, but I think now it's just more in plain sight. That's what's happening right now in front of us. And again, we have to go back towards working with one another, healing one another, helping one another, sit down and have those tough conversations and being able to say, you know what, I'm going to put my heart on the line right now, right where I stand. This is how I feel about it. You know, no more family secrets, no more holding things back and, you know, and suppressing your feelings and emotion and things like that. It's like we really need to get on the ball and do this so that we can be able to not only be the remnant, but also be able to spread that same awareness to our brothers and sisters. Say, hey, let's stop with the bashing. Let's stop with, you know, in our music, in our culture, in our art, and in TV, and in acting, and in film work. Let's stop depicting men as pimps. Let's stop depicting women as, pardon my French, whores, and women on the red light district and all this other kind of crazy stuff, or he's a criminal, or he is a thug, or he is this, that, and the third. Well, no, we are more than that. And I think also this also contributes to the public school system as well. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago. We talked about this from elementary, middle school, high school. When they started talking about Black History Month, what did they always do? They always start with how our people were in slavery. They never talked about how we were pre-slavery from the very beginning. We had kings and queens and tribes and kingdoms and all these different beautiful royal heirs, etc., that they chose not to implement within textbooks. But then as we move forward, now we're starting to talk about it more and more, because now people are starting to dig for the truth. They really want to know what really happened and how the way our people were operating before this little time period came into play. So it's really just getting back to the roots of the matter, addressing it for what it is, be patient with one another, and really just sit down and have a moment, because you cannot undo 400 years within 1 month or even 1 year. You know what I'm saying? This takes time. This is a process that we all have to deal with.
Well, yeah, I like what you said, but I think it's like it's a scripture, I can't remember for like verbatim, but it goes back to taking out the family dynamic. How do you take down? How's the thief get into the house? You have to take out the strong man. So you take out the father, you take out the warrior, you take out the strength of the house. You can manipulate the wife. You can raise the kids how you want. You can teach them what you want to teach them, and they will learn and do as you teach them. History is the same way, and pretty much they put the family dynamic. Like I was speaking to one of my classmates. She has a biracial child, and she was like, "Biracial kids get racism on both sides, but nobody wants to talk about it." So I said, "Okay, cool. You want to go there? Let's go there." I was like, read the Willie Lynch letters." She's a white chick, and she was like, "What's that?" I said, "Of course you never heard of it, but read it." So she sat there, she read 1 paragraph or 2 paragraphs. She's like, "I can't finish reading this." I said, "You can't finish reading this, but these are the facts of life." I was like, "You wonder why light-skinned blacks, dark-skinned blacks are pitted against each other?" I was like, "These letters. You wonder why your daughter, your light-skinned daughter, feels a certain kind of way? It's because of these letters." And people don't want to. They don't want to face the facts and face the truth. But these are the things that were instilled, and they're still instilled to this day. Like I was watching the Drake Chris Brown video, one of the videos, and he was like, "Yeah, man, us light skinned brothers gotta stick together." And it's like, it's funny in entertainment, it's still perpetuated. And then if you watch movies, like even with us, they don't really like they'll put a Beyonce, they'll put somebody of a lighter skin in a role, and then they'll try to like kind of push back the darker skinned females. The reason why I love the Black Panther movie is because they had dark-skinned actors and a bright, like right in the middle, in the front. And it wasn't like, they didn't lighten us up. It showed all of our culture. Mm-hmm. And all of our culture is beautiful, but about our culture is like, they want to show up as savages, but we never really been savages. We're very intelligent people, cultivated people. But if you take over a race, kill their heads, take all their elders away, it's easy to feed knowledge. It's easy for them to feed us poison. Like one of the worst shows I can't stand watching on TV was Girlfriends. You have a show about 4 black women directed by a white man, Kelsey Grammer.
Yes, I know Kelsey Grammer. Mm-hmm.
And nobody do that for years. And it's like I couldn't stand. Like my wife used to watch the Braxtons. I hated that show because it's like. It's not realistic, and then it's like you acting like you're more than what you are, and you're so conceiting yourself. I couldn't stand watching Real Housewives because it's like you have so much, but you're not doing anything, and then you're showing a falsified side of a way a woman's supposed to be. Like you can use your platform to do amazing things, and like I feel bad for entertainers because the Lord, like, there's been so many celebrities that had encounters with the Lord before they died, and they'd be like, "Lord, what have I done wrong?" He was like, "You had a platform, and you didn't mention my name. You had a platform, you didn't mention my son's name. You didn't mention who put you here,
Yes.
but you glorify yourself." And they have to answer that. So it's like, I want to make sure for everything that I do in this lifetime here on this plane, it's done correctly and the Lord gets his glory, because if the Lord gets his glory, he's going to glorify you in the next round. But if you're here glorifying yourself, that's why I believe Corona's here right now. He's trying to get rid of the idols and get you to see what's meaningful in life. Family, friends, not these entertainers. Like, they canceled our football season. I was sad, but at the same time, I looked at it as this: I can get my body in better shape. I can spend more time with my wife. We can strengthen our marriage even more. And then I can also spend time with my daughter. She's growing up. I can spend time with my boys and show them a way. And then at the same time, I can just get myself spiritually back closer to God. So it's like, I change our focus. And that's what's wrong with us as people. Like, our focus is off. Like, we're focusing on the Black Lives Matter stuff, focusing on the rants, and the world has our attention right now. But what are we doing with that attention? Are you going to be sophisticated? Are you going to still show you a savage? We can be savages in certain areas, but sometimes you have to show your intelligence. And we're not showing our intelligence. You don't got to holler, scream, and act like a barbarian. Sometimes, be more yourself. Be more than what they want you to be.
There's so much that we've done with conversations, different communities coming together and just doing this, talking, I guess too, I was just reminded as you all were speaking about just accountability within ourselves, because as you guys mentioned, especially with the media and things like that, it's like, and wait, woo, Lord, I was ready. Okay, fine. Okay.
Let's go.
Talk like the Holy Ghost just hit you or something. You said, "Oh," I said, "Girl, you better talk about that now."
Hold on, it went away from my mind just now, but I was like, oh, well, I don't know if I was wanting to talk about that.
Let's go.
Nah,
He said with his drink,
Come on with it.
Like, come here. Like, come on for it.
You're messing with now. But I'll just say this right now, and maybe it'll come back to my mind, but just about accountability within our community. The type of things that we put out there. The things, like you said, the music, the media, the arts that we put out. It's like, oh, yeah, now I remember. I was talking about this on the podcast. I know Ryan listens to this podcast every now and then. I don't know about you other two. But basically, I was kind of talking about it on one of those days about like how our community is, they're so quick. They don't want to be called the N-word, or they don't want to be called thugs. They, if another race do that stuff, it's a problem. But then, we all was jamming out a thug back in the day, and stuff like that. So it's like, I mean, how are we going to get mad about things that we do and call ourselves? I mean, I don't know. That may be too deep right now, but I just feel like it's part of that accountability with ourselves. Like, okay, we don't want to be portrayed as thugs. We don't want to be called, this and that. It's like we gotta show ourselves to be something different, which we are, because there's so many different types of people out there. But
It's a lot of unlearning that we gotta do. Like, we just do. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a lot to unlearn. And like, honestly, I don't listen to rap, but I don't knock every rapper, so to speak. Like, to me, like, I do look at rappers as coons. It's like, yo, you shucking and jiving to get $1 and you gonna like bury your people in the process. You don't care. But somebody said like, yo, maybe a lot of black people wouldn't be cooning if it was somebody black to pay them to do what they good at. So if you got to go to somebody that don't look like you to make a buck, Or if you grew up in the hood, like, yo, I grew up with a father, I grew up in a nice neighborhood, nice home, I went to good schools and everything. But I'm not so removed from like, yo, around the corner, I had a friend who like, yo, when I went to his house, he ain't had no furniture and it was cold and he ain't had no food. So it's like, he ended up like, yo, killing somebody, going to prison multiple times, this, that, and the third, living that life. So you really do have to take responsibility, but at the same time, you gotta like be able to like, if you can't identify, you gotta empathize with what somebody going through, like with a young thug or like, you know what I'm saying? You don't know their childhood, you don't know like what it was like growing up. So if somebody give you some money, it's like, yo, you might not, you know what I'm saying? You might not even have ground to stand on yourself. So if somebody come to you and just show you a way, and that's the only way that, yo, I was able to feed my family, I was able to do this and do that. I'm not saying it's justified, but I'm saying like we at least got to build a bridge. Like those of us who haven't had to like live that lifestyle, we at least got to be able to build the bridge and be able to come to where they are and kind of like walk them over to like a better way. You know what I'm saying? Like Jesus is the way, but it's a way you just can't just like, hey, get Jesus. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, you got to really like have some conversation and understand where people coming from before you just start talking Jesus in their face. It's like, yo, Jesus, before he, like when you look at a lot of the ways that Jesus moved, he would feed people physically first before he gave them spiritual food. It's like when he picked out his disciples, like, hey, you know what? Go cash in that again. It's like, yo, they needed to work. They needed to work to eat and to take care of their families. So it was like, yo, he taught them how to do that first, and then he discipled them. But to me, it just goes into the whole responsible thing. Like even in the movies and the film, and you know, like I'm in film and all that stuff. Like that's just what I do. So it's like I look at it from the perspective of, yo, you can start your own record label, start your own distribution company. Like, why do you always got to go knock on Hollywood doors saying, hey, let us in? Why don't you just build your own? Like, it's not, you can do it. Like, yo, right now I'm making a sci-fi fantasy film. And it's like, yo, I can make drama, I can make action, I can make adventure, but I'm like, you know what? We always are portrayed as criminals, we're drug dealers, and it's always some love story and stuff like that. And it's like, we got to be able to like show kids that you can see yourself beyond that. Like you know what I'm saying? Like Black Panther, I love Black Panther too, but a white man wrote it. You know what I'm saying? It's like we get who we are from other people instead of us saying like, yo, this is who we are, and we taking like we as a community coming together and saying like, you know what, Nick Cannon just got fired. It just show you how like, yo, that quick. You know what I'm saying? He didn't do nothing wrong, and he didn't say nothing wrong, but he got fired. But it's like, yo, who is out there as a Black film company that can come and be like, yo, Nick, or why can't Nick Cannon go and say, you know what, I'm gonna just start my own show with or without you anyway. But until we get in that position, I'm just saying like, yo, we gotta get into a position where it's like, yo, we able to get enough money to be able to pull the people out the hood and like start getting people out of prisons that's falsely in prison or doing terms that ain't got nothing to do with the crime. We got to get to that level. And once you can get to that level, like then I think we can start really rebuilding the community. But if we can't get there, then it's always going to be this cycle. We're going to have a little bit of momentum and then we're going to get pushed back. We're going to have a Black Lives movement. And then it's like the organization is going to take more fame than the actual Black life that it's supposed to be represented. So I think that's how it's going to always go until we get into the position where we can actually come together at a table as men, especially, and be like, yo, look, this is how we're going to move. We're going to start buying land over here. We're going to build a community over there. We ain't sending our kids back to school. We're going to start homeschooling. We're going to start building institutions. If we can move like that, then I think we'll see some solid change. And you might not see the fruit of your own labor. You got to be okay with that. Like, if you're not okay with that, then it's like, hey, nah, man, I want to eat, have my fame right now. Like, yo, that might not happen. You got to, that's how we got to where we are right now. Because somebody said, like, yo, I might not see the fruit of my labor, but my kids ain't going to be slaves or aren't going to be enslaved. We were never slaves. We were enslaved. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of it is like, but I can go on forever, though. But that's where I see it at.
Thank you, Like,
I agree. I definitely agree with it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, boss.
I mean, no, Ray, I'm just saying I agree because it's the thing about filling the casket. And we gotta be willing, black people, black men, we gotta be willing to get the bad out of the community. The problem with us is we want to keep everybody alone. Like, let's take a whole body for example. Let's say the calf and the pinky toe. You can get rid of the pinky toe, save the entire body, keep living life, and enjoy life. Or you can ignore that issue and let that infection go to all your toes, you lose your toes. You don't take care of it, you lose your foot. You don't take care of it, then you lose your legs. And our community is the exact same way. We don't want to cast out certain people. We want to cast off certain stigmas. If you don't want to be called the N-word, stop acting like one. Stop giving people a reason to call you one. Stop doing things to perpetrate, being one. Like, being a big dude, I'm 6'1", 300 some pounds. My dad always taught me, he said, son, you a big man. Like, demeanor a lot. He said, you don't even have to say anything. He said, but you have to speak to comfort people down. So naturally, when people come up to us, they look at us, they're already scared. Big, small, whatever. They have that, they look at us. But the thing is, when I come on start talking, it calms people down. And we as black people, we also have to use our intelligence. We have to use our intellect. We don't use our intellect at all. And it's like, we have to start thinking outside the box. If we want to better the community, we got to get people out the community. And then also, if you really want to know your past, we have to take time to learn for ourselves. Like, a white dude did break Black Panther, but at the same time, I'm a big Mike fan now, but Michael Jackson tried to defend the film about Egypt back in the early 90s. They gave so much hate because they didn't want people to understand that Egypt was black. So he ended up making the video, and he depicted all black in the video. So it's like, there have been people that try to take a stance for our community and our history, but they get watched out. So it's like, it's our job as our parents, as mentors, as leaders, use our platform to talk about who we are, the things that, we can do. But until we just shut, like you said, it's true like the Matrix to me. You do have to straight reprogram your life. You got to reprogram your thinking. You got to reprogram, even when it comes to your faith. Like, when I started really having a relationship with the Lord, it was hard for me to read the Bible because it's like, okay, Lord, I'm talking to you and you're speaking this, but I was taught this. Like, the term slave in the Bible drives me nuts, actually, because the Lord said, I didn't mean to put you in, I'm not putting you in slavery. If the Lord is everything, he's freedom. So why do I have to be a slave to somebody? And he told me I'm freeing him. Relationship. Mm-hmm. You have to understand. That's why I do want to learn Hebrew, because I know y'all heard of Reggie White. Reggie White used to one of the greatest defensive ends ever. Great pastor. The Lord told him to stop ministering, and everyone's like, "Why did you stop ministering?" He was like, "Because what you're preaching is not really what's there." He said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Learn Hebrew." Reggie took 2-3 years and learned Hebrew and started reading the Bible in Hebrew. And he said, when he started reading the Bible in Hebrew, he really learned what the Lord was saying. And he learned what the Lord was saying about us as people. And there's freedom in the Lord. There's no slavery. There's no bondage. Lifestyle of mental slavery. Just because there's no chains on us physically, there's chains on us mentally. And then, like we talked earlier about the mental discipline, the things in our community, it's okay to have issues and have problems. And like we do that. Like, if you don't expose what's in your past, it's gonna come back in your future. It may not come through you, but it may come through a child. And it may come through the next generation. Everything has to be uncovered, everything has to be discussed, and it has to be on a clean slate. But again, and you gotta show people that there's a better way of living life. Like, you don't have to eat soda crackers and top ramen. You can actually eat steak, potatoes, and enjoy a good meal. You can live life good. You don't have to live in the bottom of the barrel. But if that's all you talk, that's all you're gonna do. I got a lot. I'm sorry.
I feel you. I'm with you.
No, that was really good. That's very, very good. I wanted to piggyback just for a split second on what Rod had said. And there was a scripture that came to my mind. It's in Hosea chapter 4, verse 6, where it says, my people perish because of the lack of knowledge. And when you reject knowledge, you reject God. So I say all that to say this. Neil had mentioned about the music industry for a little bit. And if y'all recall how hip hop actually started in the very beginning, it was based on the principles of family, love, unity, and peace. When hip hop started to get this momentum and it started becoming a very popular art form and a particular sound, the recording industry, the record labels, the executives, they got a hold of it. And then somewhere around 1988, 89, when NWA came into the picture, that's when those principles, because we had a lot of rappers that were considered conscious or considered, positive music, they were taken and thrown to the side. Then enters NWA and a lot of the gangster rap after that, right? So then the executives, they said, well, we're going to take this art form and we're going to push it even further. So that's where it became this perpetuating vicious cycle that ran through our communities and many others. So people started looking at Black folks, especially Black men, as, oh, this is how the way they live, supposedly. And this is how the way this is going down, or this is how the way that's going down, et cetera, et cetera. And somewhere down the line, many people have accepted it for what it is, right? But then we also say, well, it doesn't have to be that way, because now we're getting people that are fully awakening from the sleep, proverbially and spiritually. People are starting to wake up now and saying, we don't have to take this anymore because we see what's happening. This is where the agenda is continuing to put our people in this downward spiral. And if we get back to the course of how the way things were when God created it from the very beginning, it was always about life. It was never about death. And even Deuteronomy 29 talks about the same thing as well. It was a certain period of time where, yes, he wanted his people to thrive and to flourish and to have the good of the land, but at the same time, he didn't want them to be so stubborn and hard-headed and prideful and greedy. That's where we started going the other direction. They started to complain. What happened? When they came out of Egypt, that's when everything started becoming a downward spiral as well. I'm just putting two and two together to let y'all know that you see what happens when you come off the course that God already prepared for you. That's not the way we're supposed to go. Even in the music, I'm right there with y'all. I didn't like it. I grew up on hip hop. I grew up on R&B. I grew up on gospel. I grew up on a lot of different styles, a lot of different sounds. Now, the stuff that they're saying today, I don't even digest that stuff because I think it's nonsense, what they're saying. It don't make no sense to me. It's like you're continuing to push the agenda that the system wants us to do, to destroy each other. And that's not the plans that Joshua said to us from the very beginning. So I don't accept it. I know that my brothers on here don't accept it. So it's our responsibility and our sole purpose is to change the dynamic for what it truly is.
Oh.
No, I'm just listening. I'm just soaking it up.
and to me, this is the answer, right? Like, and I don't know how it's whatever, but like the church, in my opinion, has, at least the church in the Black community, however, you can say the church as a whole, but let's talk about like the church in the Black community and how it hasn't done the best job that it could to lead us to where we are right now. Like looking at it from a spiritual perspective, like the church is Jesus's hands and feet in the earth. And it's like, if you're a church and you're set in the midst of like a community, and you're supposed to be this beacon of light, and you're just wanting people to come to you, and you're not going to the people. I think this is what happens when the church is lazy, when the church is kind a little bit of a coward. It's like, hey, I don't really want to go out there. You know what I'm saying? I just want to play it safe. It's like, hey, look, I'm gonna get this money. Oh, y'all come in here, y'all pay y'all tithes and everything, but like there are churches where 30 years ago it was just beautiful. Like the community was beautiful, right? Like, and this is here in Atlanta. Like I've seen it with my own eyes. It's like, wow, yo, that was nice. This, that, and the third. And I remember my man was telling me like, yeah, man, I remember like growing up, going to this church in this community. It was this and it was that. And then 30 years later, you look at the community, it's run down and it's dilapidated. But the church is still standing there. And it's like, is that saying like, yo, the church failed the community? Or is the church just that strong that it just survived whatever happened to the community? So, I mean, in my opinion, I think like, yo, the church has just it's been sucking a lot out of the community and it just hasn't been given back. So I think that's another side of why you get what you get in the Black community. Just how I see it.
I agree with Neil absolutely on that. And it's crazy that you're mentioning this now because I had a conversation with a friend of mine last night, and we had a very in-depth conversation. And just case in record, I don't want nobody to get it twisted. I love everybody: white, black, Spanish, Asian, Native American, Indian, which is part of my bloodline, many others. But she is a white female from Pennsylvania, Quaker State, okay? And we had an in-depth conversation. And one of the things that drew my attention to our conversation, because I didn't hear from her in like the last 4 to 5 months, and I brought it to her attention. And one thing that she said to me was this: she said that I don't want to deal with conflict. That's what really took me back for a second. I said, I'm saying to myself, what you mean by you don't want to deal with conflict? What you talking about? Keep in mind, for those of y'all who have read the scriptures, every child of God and every individual who was considered chosen by God had to not only confront conflict, but we also had to endure conflict, even to the point where their life was on the line. That was still dealing with some type of conflict. So her and I, we had a lot of in-depth conversation, but we had some debates as well too in between. And I didn't agree with what she had said in that moment. And Neil was right. I think that a lot of times people that are from the white community, black community, and they consider themselves child of God and from the church, or I put in quotations, church, they have laxated themselves or even went into a trance or some type of comatose with what they are witnessing right now. You got people that don't even want to sit next to you or stand with you when we're dealing with things such as racism and protesting and things of that nature. I know that Christ didn't come for the fact of, dealing with racism. All that stuff was stomped out. You know what I'm saying? I agree with what Rodney had said as well, too. But the thing that really bothered me in that conversation with her is that what you're saying to me in hindsight, and a lot of Christian people have done this, is that when you know that you've been convicted and you feel it in your heart and your spirit that you need to do something about it and to stand with your brothers and sisters in the struggle, and you don't do your part, that says a lot about you as an individual. And I'll tell anybody else, you don't have to believe what I'm saying. If you say that you're a believer, you go talk to your creator and tell them what I'm saying to you. Is it correct? Yes or no? And you'll get your answer. That's all I'm going to do my part. But I see how the way people, especially in the church, have responded to the social climate. And this is not just the first time. It's been going on for centuries. I think it's, like I said, I think it's coming more and more to a head, especially today, that they can't go around the issue. They can't go under it. They can't go above it. They got to go through it. And if they don't get it right this time around, it's going to pop back up in another 30, 40, 50 years.
Well, honestly, we all just need to be coming together as a body of Christ anyway, because I think all of us being separate is a lot of the cause of issues as well. I mean, I know we all have differences of opinions, as well as, like, you know, we're all different races and things like that. But, you know, it really shouldn't be white church, black church, all of that. We need to be coming together because we have that common enemy, which is the enemy that is causing all this havoc right now. That we need to be, if we're believers in Christ, we all need to be coming together and trying to stand strong, you know, as that fist and not individual fingers. I don't know, because I guess I mean I feel and I can see a shift when it comes to all the things that are going on in the world right now. I know we far off the manhood topic, I guess, but I mean, maybe this goes back to manhood. I don't know, but being folk. I mean, why y'all ain't got that? I'm sorry. No, but yeah, I just feel like we just all need to be coming together right now because like I said, I feel the shift happening. I don't know if you all do, but there's like this huge shift happening, and you can just see all the, like I said, there's so much being exposed right now. You know, what's going on behind the scenes, things that we may not have even known anything about and stuff. So it's just like, you know, we need to be protecting our kids. Which is why fathers are so important, and I don't know, it's so much.
This has a lot to do with manhood. Like, personally, this has a lot to do with manhood because going back to what Neil was saying about the church and in the community, when you see a church thriving and the community going down, it shows the lack of leadership. I've been to so many churches, like the first, like, I don't mention the name, but when I first went to the church, the men's ministry was so powerful. They used to walk neighborhoods. That's how they got me. They were walking as men. They grabbed me off the streets. My dad and my brother, they were like, hey, we want you to come to the church. And then when we went to the church, the power of the Holy Spirit was just there. And there's a different spirit when men come together under the Lord. It's a whole nother spirit. It's a whole nother ball game. And everything around us was completely different. And the church, like, I was called the pastor at 18 years old. And when it's time, it's time. But the Lord showed me how the church is supposed to be ran. The church is supposed to be a storehouse for the people, not the storehouse for one man to sit on the throne. If a pastor is collecting money and he's flourishing, but his members aren't flourishing, if the surrounding areas around him aren't flourishing, that's not a house of God, because the church is for the people. The money is for the people. If the neighborhood is not growing, then it lets you know the lack of spiritual growth the church has. And you have a lot of that going on. The one thing I will say about white churches, I'm sorry, they put back in their community. And see, we're not taught to go back in our community. We do church like we sell drugs. We glitter and glamorize ourselves. We speak down to those below us, and then we live our lives. And then we mask it in holiness. But when we truly get where God wants us to be, when we get to where God wants us to be, truly humble, truly serving, back in the leadership role, and everyone gets in order, the church can be in order. Your community will be in order. So all this has a lot to do with manhood, being and attacking the ministry with them. Because it's supposed to be fought, like, even with young ladies, you're supposed to have the mothers in the church to direct these young ladies on being women, correcting them. But how can a mother correct the child when they're doing the same thing? All this goes back to manhood, fatherhood, leadership. It all trickles down. Like Ryan said at the beginning, it goes back to the nucleus. It goes back to the center. If these things aren't correct in the center, it won't be corrected in God's house, because God's house is not a building. It's truly in us. And if the church in me is flawed, the church in my house is going to be flawed. And if God gives me a building, that church is going to be flawed just as well as my inner being. So it's like, we have to get this church right before we get it right. And that's what's wrong with everything. So it goes back to the first creation. God gave man the world. He said, Adam, I want you to watch over all my creation, not just human beings, everything alike. So if I'm called the pastor, I can't just care about the building. I can care about me. I can care about, Neil, Ryan, you. I can care about your family. Hey, do y'all got food? Do y'all got supplies? You got gas money. You need a job. Like what? These are the things first. The church is lacking. And I've seen for a long time people like with those scriptures, don't muzzle an ox, and 700. I'll go attack with a pastor. I don't care because God put that anointing in me. And you're like Jesus, walk and talk like Jesus. You got to be humble like Jesus. You got to serve like Jesus. You got to give like Jesus. He gave more than he took, and he multiplied what he gave. So if you're not walking that walk, you need to be quiet.
Listen. Look, I done told Neil, what I'm saying, I'm ready to go to his church whenever he's ready to get.
Oh, you got jokes.
Look, all y'all men folk. Yeah, shoot. I mean, yep. We need you, men folk.
Like, yep.
We need you, men folk. We need y'all. Get in y'all positions. Not just y'all on the thing, but y'all whoever's watching too. We need everybody in their positions doing what they supposed to be doing. About that.
That's the truth.
So what y'all done now? Yeah.
Hey, ride that head on. Like
that was beautiful ending right there, brother.
I ain't got nothing else to say after that. That's the truth right there. Like that is it. Period. Like that's it.
Okay, we need to take that part and just make it a commercial or something.
Yeah.
Just put it out there.
I just care about, man, the Lord's house, man, and like how everybody's so divided. No matter how hard I try, I can't be divided. How much I try to hate, I can't hate. And it's truly the spirit of the Lord that's always been in my life, and I know how He wants His business. I really care about God's house. The Lord told me, like, it's not about you, and that's what's wrong with church. Like, we condemn so much. It ain't about the sins that we do. It's about the condition of your heart. What's it?
That's it.
If you really read the Bible as it is, everyone He used was a straight screw up, and they accomplished amazing things. The people He bestowed power on were not goody two shoes. And I learned, man, Lord, you use me as a screw up. He said, you're going to keep screwing up because that's what you are. He said, but your heart is always in place. When I need you, you respond. The Lord wants you to step up and act when He asks you to act. He ain't asking you to be flawless. He ain't asking you to be perfect. A man is not meant to be perfect. We're meant to, we're going to mess up. That's how blessings come. That's part of testimony. So it's like, I am who He made me. That's why the Lord even said, don't beat yourself down. Pretty much paraphrase, don't beat yourself down for the things that you do. He said, relish in them because there's a reason why you did them. You're going to learn the lesson, and then you're going to grow from it, and then you won't do it again, and you're going to teach somebody else to not mess up like you did.
Righteous man falls 7 times, but he keeps getting back up.
7 times 7.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes, indeed.
This is some good stuff, man, folks. Look, I hope the people are encouraged right now. Y'all need to be having these conversations.
We do this again another night. I'm cool with it.
I mean, we got to. I like the male perspective thing. I know I was like, when I first, I guess, made the segment, I was like, I don't know if it's weird that I'm like the fly on the wall. I'm not trying to like take over the conversations or anything either. I'm just like trying to help them along or say little things or ask questions or whatever. But I mean, I think this is good because it comes from one, to hear you all's perspective, and then two, to I guess be a woman listening in, because I think a lot of times, I guess for me, I'm curious to the male mind when it comes to a lot of different topics and stuff. And so, I hope that it helps other people that may be wondering these things too. I mean, I know we dealing with a current heavy situation, but I mean, you know, maybe we get on some lighter topics and stuff at some point with you and folk and things as well. But no, I appreciate y'all and y'all time. I mean, you know, it's up to y'all. I keep the thing rolling. I mean, I still gotta film my intro and stuff, but I mean, you know, I get done. It's still quarantine, so I ain't going nowhere. I got nothing else to do.
But these dogs are barking all day long.
I heard a dog barking.
Hold up. Hold up.
But he got a dog barking.
But I'm good. I'm going to have to sign off in like 2 minutes. But I think I said my piece and said what I had to say. But everybody was on point.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire conversation, it was just on point all the way through. So we hit a lot of great targets. So I'm definitely blessed. I'm definitely excited. Definitely want to see more growth through the entire process.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
little doggy. I appreciate that. Yeah, like I said, you was somebody that just reached out on the page. You know what I'm saying? And now you've been in so many episodes. You just part of you're part of the family. I already told you that. I think one of our first conversations I told you that. But
Yeah.
you know.
Wait, y'all didn't know each other before this?
No.
Get out of here, yo.
Crazy.
Wow.
I reached out to her. I reached out to her first, actually. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's the Lord right there.
Right.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
yes,
saying.
it
This whole thing, like, okay, yeah, God, Sex, and Love has been on my heart for years, and I've been trying to figure out like how am I going to do it. And like I said, I was so close to filming the show right before COVID hit that I was like, man. And so when we quarantined, whatever, I'm saying, like, I mean, I still want to do this. Like, I got to figure out or whatever. And somebody basically just threw out the idea about a podcast again, which Dario told me to do like last year, but I just was like, you know, I just feel like he kept trying to add stuff to my plate because I'm always doing everything alone. But anyway,
he was right the whole time.
and so then, you know what? No,
that's that man in the house.
No, I was gonna do it as a blog. So I asked him about like what he thought of that. But see, that would have been literally me writing all my thoughts, and that probably ain't a good thing because I can be all over the place, especially with these here topics. So, but he mentioned the podcast, and I was like, blog and podcast sounds like a lot of work, husband. But like I said, roll around to this year, I figured out a way to do the podcast, and then from there, you know, that just started in April, y'all, and look where we at. You know what I'm saying? I met Ranye, Roger on board, got you on board. Like, I mean, the craziest thing, I'm just gonna remember this forever. Like, the craziest thing thus far, other than getting the show and stuff, is that when I had that girl from Mexico hit me up and inbox me asking questions about, like, just seeking advice. And I'm just like,
wow.
That's awesome.
Because she heard the podcast and she just asked, and I'm like, and she could have asked anybody, you know, the advice that she asked me, but that was just so crazy to me because I'm like, I'm still just getting started, like, you know, just started in April and somebody in Mexico heard the podcast, like, so
That's real.
I mean, obviously God is doing something, you know, with this, and so I've had some naysayers, or I've had some people questioning different things. But I'm trying to just, you know, block that stuff and just keep going because, you know, I feel like it's not even on me. I feel like it's just God opening doors and I'm just walking through because I'm like, all right, cool. You know, that's pretty much what's going on my end. So I appreciate you all just even taking out the time to join me in any capacity to you know, help me bring this vision to life and stuff like that. And I feel like this segment right here, the male perspective, is important. So I appreciate you all taking out the time to do this.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for the invite, yo.
Absolutely. Greatly appreciate it. Very humble.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no problem, man. Well, I won't be long y'all's time. I mean, like I said, it's on y'all. I know Ronye said he finna peace out.
Yeah, family calling, so I gotta holler y'all.
All right, Ryan.
Yes, peace, Neil.
Peace. Yes, sir.
Rod, good meeting you, brother.
Too, man.
Blessings to you. For sure. Stay in touch, man. Good to see you, man. Love the dog, man. Ah, it's a beautiful dog right there. Yes, sir. Man's best friend.
Yeah.
You causing all that noise. All right. All right, Miracle. Sis,
Yes,
much love to you. Appreciate you. Definitely. I'll talk to you soon.
all right.
All right.
Sounds like a plan.
All
Yay. What y'all?
He done brought the dog, right?
What y'all? Y'all still we feel for some talk. Yeah, I gotta pick another topic for y'all.
No,
He chilling, man.
he's straight chilling.
Hey, he a big baby, bro.
He look like that's who he is. Like shoot.
He about 15 weeks. He
wow.
cane corso blue.
I've never heard of that before.
It's
Wow.
a blue. Like, he come from a blue pit. The mama was blue, and
Oh,
the dad was cane corso, but he black and with a little white trim.
wow.
What's his name?
Brock.
Right.
He look clean too. He
He's
look shiny. Look like a panther, yo.
Dog sweet, good dog. Kids love him. He's easy to train. Like he's easy to train.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like to do a small dog. I don't know about a big dog.
You don't want no little big ankle body. You want a big dog.
Yeah, hubby want a big dog. Well, I don't know if he want
Tiny,
one.
you need a big dog.
We used to talk about it, talking about something. We can get a puppy that grows up with our child at the same time. Like before we had NJ, that's what he would be talking about. And I'm like, so I'm gonna be with the puppy and the baby all day? Like that's the plan.
Sunday is. And like, I want to tell you something. Like people give pit bulls a bad name. We grew up with pit bulls. They're good dogs. They're protected dogs. They're family dogs. And this one, he a family dog. Like people come over to the house, people play with him. I mean, and really dogs take the spirit of the owner. So if you got a good spirit, your dog gonna be calm. Wow. You know, if you see a dog that's got nasty personality, his owner's got nasty personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Dogs will let you know a lot about a person.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, my friend had a pit. He was a big old kid, yo.
Maybe I thought a pit looked different. Maybe, but then again, I got my contacts on, no glasses, so that's probably why I'm like.
Hold on for a second. Let's see.
I don't know what a pit looks
like. I just never seen one that looked like that before, yo.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I thought the pits look different. Like they look like.
Yeah, he a rare breed right there.
Like maybe not hair. Maybe pits don't have a lot of hair. That's what maybe I thought.
Nah, he a mixed breed. He a cane corso. Them dogs get really big, and then he mixed with pit. So he got two pit families in one.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Wow.
Cause he got tight fur, like real tight fur. But people, Neil, it was nice meeting you, dog.
Yes, sir. Nice to meet you too, man. Definitely. Get to meet another like-minded brother in the Lord.
Always. I love good conversations, man. It's refreshing spirit.
Word up. That's the truth, though. That's true.
Yes, it is. Oh, I got people.
Wait, what?
You're recording. I forgot.
Oh yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.